Hello brothers and welcome to Sigma Old Man channel. If being liked is your priority, get ready to be used as a doormat with a smiley face. Here's the harsh truth most people quietly ignore. Being nice doesn't guarantee respect, it often guarantees invisibility. In fact, studies in social dynamics show that individuals who constantly seek approval are more likely to be overlooked in leadership roles, romantic partnerships, and even friendships. So while the world pats nice guys on the back for being agreeable, Sigma males walk right past that award ceremony, straight into a league of their own. They don't smile to survive, they don't flatter to fit in, and they definitely don't dance around the truth just to be accepted. Sigma males have cracked a cold, uncomfortable truth. Being nice is often just a strategy people use when they're too afraid to be real. And here's where it gets spicy. Sigma males can be kind, but only when it aligns with their values, not to win people over. They don't play by the Politeness Olympics, where everyone's fake grinning for gold. In fact, if nice guys finish last, Sigma males never even entered the race. They're off building their own game with their own rules, on a track no one else has the map to. This video isn't about roasting nice guys. It's about showing why Sigma males aren't in that category at all. So buckle up, because what you're about to hear isn't watered-down psychology or recycled masculinity advice. It's raw, brutally honest insight into why Sigma males are respected, mysterious, and magnetically different, even if they never hold the door open with a cheesy grin. Number 1, politeness isn't his default setting, it's a paid feature. Politeness isn't cheap with him, it's pay-per-view. He wakes up each morning with a fixed budget of mental bandwidth and emotional credit, and small talk tries to pickpocket both. The cashier asks about his weekend. He decides whether the answer buys him anything. If it doesn't, he nods once and keeps the change. It's not rudeness, it's resource management. He's like a craftsman who charges by the minute. Every throwaway, "How's it going, buddy?" is a meter running in his head. Nice guys run around handing out courtesy like free samples at a supermarket. He posts a price list and watches who's serious. When generosity carries a built-in invoice, takers suddenly turn thrifty, and only the worthwhile conversations survive. The trick is silent enforcement. There's no dramatic eye roll or sigh when someone tries to overdraft his patience. The chat simply times out as if the Wi-Fi dropped. The other person only realizes later that the connection fee went unpaid. This scarcity turns every polite gesture into a headline act. When he laughs at your joke, you replay it all day because you know it wasn't polite laughter. It cost him actual interest. When he holds a door, you remember which door and what you were wearing because he could have let it slam. Genuine kindness shines brighter when it isn't buried under a landfill of mandatory smiles and filler words. The beauty and the terror of this system is its transparency. There's no hidden contract, no fine print. He's courteous when courtesy creates mutual value, blunt when honesty saves everyone time, silent when nothing productive can be said. It disarms manipulators who rely on social guilt, because he never signed that unspoken agreement. People accuse him of being aloof, but what they really feel is the sudden pressure of earning access. Politeness as a paid feature weeds out freeloaders and attracts equals. He doesn't negotiate the price either. Haggling drains the battery faster than silence. Pay in authenticity or walk away. The result? A network of relationships built on real exchange, not emotional coupons. Quality over quantity isn't a slogan, it's how the lights stay on. People who can't afford the fee call him cold. Those who can call him invaluable because they know every ounce of courtesy they receive is pure. Number 2, he optimizes for respect, not likability. Being liked throws confetti, being respected installs foundations. The Sigma male knows the difference, and his inner accountant won't let him blur the two columns. Likes feel good but depreciate faster than cheap furniture. Respect, on the other hand, is an appreciating asset that keeps paying dividends in access, trust, and autonomy. So while everyone else refreshes their social feed for dopamine hits, he refreshes his principles list to see if any have drifted. If popularity demands he sand down his edges, he'd rather keep the splinters and lose the audience. A smaller room full of people who value integrity beats a stadium chanting for a version of him he can't stand. His filter is simple. Does this action win cheap applause or does it deepen credibility? He'll skip the smiley emoji if a period tells the truth faster. At meetings, he doesn't clap for every idea, he gives a nod only when merit shows up. That selectiveness can feel icy to the approval-hungry, but it's a lighthouse for the competence-hungry. They see the beam and steer closer. Respect grows where standards live, and he tends that garden like a fussy farmer. No shortcuts, no pesticides of flattery. He's fully aware that this approach trims social fat. Invitations thin out when you're not afraid to say a polite no. Group chats quiet down when you don't laugh at low-effort jokes. To him, that's not loneliness, it's quality control. The conversations that survive are sharper, braver, and genuinely useful. Even his critics grudgingly admit that when he speaks, they listen because the words arrive debt-free, no intention to charm, only to clarify. Ironically, optimizing for respect often earns a deeper kind of likability. People start to appreciate the reliability of someone who won't sugarcoat or shapeshift. They might not always agree with him, but they trust the product label. And trust, once banked, outperforms fleeting approval every time, so he keeps polishing the steel in his spine, happy to forfeit the talent show trophy if it means holding the master key to his own decisions. The scoreboard never lies. Vanity metrics spike and vanish. The KPI of respect compounds quietly, making him wealthier in ways empty applause can't even spell. Number 3, boundaries arrive before the handshake. With a Sigma male, you don't earn his boundaries, you meet them at the door. Before the conversation starts, before the small talk even warms up, the rules of engagement are already in place. You just don't realize it until you step on the tripwire. There's no warning sign, no blinking light, just a quiet line in the sand that doesn't get redrawn to make people feel more comfortable. It's not hostility, it's architecture. His space isn't open plan, it's designed with intentional entry points, locked doors, and a limited guest list. If you feel like you've been gently kept at arm's length, you're not imagining it. That's the perimeter, and he's not moving it to make you feel special. What makes it even more unnerving is that he won't explain the rules unless you violate one. There's no user manual, just natural consequences. Come too close too fast, emotionally, physically, or mentally, and you'll feel the cool withdrawal like a power outage. Not because he's punishing you, but because the boundary is automated. His energy is protected by default, not adjusted after damage. Most nice guys figure out what their limits are after they've been overrun. Sigmas start with theirs firmly bolted down, then maybe open the gate an inch if you prove you're not a liability. People who are used to pushing past people-pleasers hate this. They think he's cold, distant, or hard to get to know. What they don't understand is he's not playing hard to get. He's just not offering himself up like a free trial. His warmth isn't public property, it's reserved seating. And if you try to cut the line, he'll revoke your access without debate. The beauty of it. Once you do earn a place within those boundaries, the connection is real, durable, and immune to manipulation. This boundary-first approach flips the usual social script. Instead of reacting to disrespect after it happens, he prevents it from ever showing up. People learn quickly that proximity to him isn't granted, it's earned. Not by performance, charm, or pressure, but by consistency, integrity, and emotional intelligence. He doesn't shrink to make others feel tall, and he doesn't expand for those who haven't earned the right. His space is sacred, and if you don't respect it, you're politely escorted out without a scene. Number 4, compliments pass through a lie detector. Compliments are his version of encrypted currency, traceable, scarce, and impossible to counterfeit. Before any praise leaves his lips, it goes through a security checkpoint staffed by skepticism, fairness, and that relentless internal auditor who hates red ink. If even one sensor beeps, maybe the achievement was luck or the effort half-baked, the compliment is confiscated on the spot. He'd rather endure 5 seconds of awkward silence than hand out a gold star that'll devalue the entire reward system. So when you do get a well done, it feels less like a pat on the back and more like a stamped passport. You have legitimately crossed into the land of earned respect. This quality control drives chronic praise seekers nuts. They're used to dopamine sprinkles for showing up on time. He's handing out sashimi-grade validation only when the catch is fresh. A coworker flaunts a half-finished idea. He nods politely, keeps scrolling. A friend brags about kinder sticking to their diet. He changes the subject, not because he's harsh, because he refuses to dilute honest recognition with filler words. Think of him as a Michelin inspector of human effort. No shortcuts, no mercy, no photos with the chef. Here's the plot twist. People eventually crave his approval the way coffee addicts crave that first morning sip, because they know it's pure. Once a teammate watched him dissect a project from every angle, searching for flaws like a jeweler examining a diamond. When he finally said, "Solid work," you could almost hear the collective gasp. That two-word sentence bought the team more motivation than a month of corporate pep talks. Authentic praise carries that kind of voltage precisely because it's so hard to earn. He's also a master of the timed compliment. If enthusiasm fades or performance drops, his earlier applause self-destructs in memory. The takeaway: yesterday's trophy doesn't pay today's rent. This built-in expiration date keeps complacency on a tight leash. People up their game not to feed his ego, but to keep the hard-won respect from evaporating. Some label him stingy until they realize their other compliments came preloaded with strings. His come with nothing except the truth, and that's the rarest gift of all. When praise is this honest, you don't just feel noticed, you feel validated. And once you've tasted that flavor, bland flattery tastes like cardboard forever. Number 5. Generosity comes with a GPS tag. His kindness ships with built-in tracking, and he watches that package move. When a Sigma male offers help, hauling your sofa down 3 flights, proofreading your business plan at midnight, wiring money because payday got delayed, he's not recording brownie points. He's maintaining a ledger of reciprocity. It isn't petty bookkeeping, it's quality control for his time and energy. The serial number on each favor reminds him who values the service and who treats it like an endless buffet. Cashiers scan barcodes to stop shoplifters. He scans behavior to stop parasites. Here's how it works. First favor, delivered with zero fuss, a genuine no worries. Second favor, still smooth, but the tracker pings twice. Third favor, he checks the history. Have you reciprocated even symbolically, or at least expressed real gratitude? If the answer is yes, the courier keeps rolling. If the answer is a shrug, the route is suspended. There's no dramatic confrontation, no Facebook rant, just a sudden "sorry, can't make it" the next time you ask. That silence is him closing the service ticket. This system rattles people who bank on endless goodwill. They call him transactional, forgetting that healthy friendships are transactions, just in emotional currency instead of cash. You water my plants, I lend you my truck. No one sends an invoice, but everyone feels the balance. Pretending it doesn't exist is how leeches multiply. He refuses to become the guy whose nerves are shot and wallet lighter because he couldn't say no. Generosity without tracking turns helpers into resentful zombies, and he'd rather be fully alive than universally liked. The upside of this GPS-tagged giving: reliability on both ends. Friends who understand the rules never feel awkward asking for help because they know they'll repay it. Maybe not in the same form, but with equal weight. The ledger isn't about identical favors, it's about symmetry of respect. A ride to the airport can balance a meal dropped off when he's sick. The math is flexible, the principle ironclad. Value must circulate. Abuse the system once and you're not blacklisted forever. You're just redirected to the public hotline of life, where wait times are brutal and service is generic. Meanwhile, his genuine circle stays small, energized, and debt-free. That's not stinginess. That's sustainable generosity, delivered on schedule every time. Number 6, kindness with a spine beats niceness with a smile. Being kind doesn't mean being soft, and the Sigma male knows this better than anyone. His kindness comes with a spine, firm, intentional, and untouchable. He's not out here dishing out approval like candy just to be liked. He'll help you, protect you, listen to you, and even go to war for you. But only if it aligns with his values, not your convenience. The difference between him and the typical nice guy is night and day. The nice guy wants to be liked. The Sigma male wants to be respected. And if respect costs him your comfort, he'll pay that price in full. People often confuse his cool composure for coldness because they're used to fake warmth. They expect a guy who will bend over backward to please everyone, nod at every bad idea, and offer feel-good lies to avoid tension. What they get instead is someone who won't co-sign nonsense just to keep the peace. He's the guy who won't tell you what you want to hear if it compromises what you need to hear. He's not going to sugarcoat the truth, because he knows that real kindness sometimes sounds like hard truth, delivered with calm clarity. You won't find him performing emotional CPR for people who keep stabbing themselves with their own bad decisions. He's not the call-me-anytime guy who picks up at 2 a.m. just because you're lonely and bored. If you're genuinely in trouble, he shows up. But if you're using emotional drama to get attention, his signal goes dark. That discipline might sting in the moment, but it earns long-term trust. People respect him because they know he means what he says, does what he promises, and never fakes what he doesn't feel. And here's the irony. While nice guys often feel invisible despite all their efforts, Sigma males with all their edges and honesty are the ones people quietly admire and gravitate toward. Not because he's warm and fuzzy, but because he's solid. When the storm hits, nobody looks for the smiling guy with flimsy boundaries. They look for the one with a steel backbone and a kind heart that doesn't bend for applause. That's him. Not everyone likes him. But when the stakes are real, he's the one they trust to show up and stand firm. Number 7, desire never outranks self-respect. Desire is just noise until it passes the filter of self-respect. That's the rule the Sigma male lives by, and he doesn't bend it. Not even when the temptation is sky high and wrapped in everything his senses crave. He can be fully attracted to someone, charmed, intrigued, completely into them, and still walk away if something doesn't sit right with his values. He doesn't chase love like a starving man at a buffet. He studies it like a scientist with standards. If the chemistry is intense but the energy is chaotic, selfish, or shallow, he'll log the attraction, analyze the data, and delete the entire file without blinking. This is what sets him apart. Most people let desire override their better judgment. They convince themselves to overlook the red flags, to lower the bar just this once, to play fixer-upper with someone whose personality is clearly leaking at the seams. The Sigma male? Not a chance. His self-respect isn't a costume he wears. It's built into his nervous system. He can feel it buzzing any time something violates it. No matter how good the connection feels in the moment, if it makes him shrink, question himself, or play dumb just to keep it alive, it's already dead to him. People often confuse this with being emotionally distant, but that's not it. He feels deeply even, but he refuses to let feelings hijack his principles. He knows desire is fleeting, that emotions can lie, and that attraction doesn't always equal alignment. He's not in the business of romantic gambling. If someone's presence costs him his peace, his power, or his authenticity, the exit door opens instantly. And this is why people who try to manipulate through seduction, attention games, or validation tricks crash and burn with him. They're used to people folding at the first sign of intimacy. But the Sigma male doesn't fold. He evaluates. He measures not just how much he wants you, but how much of himself he'd lose trying to keep you. If that answer feels off, the desire dies quietly, with no drama, no speech, no tears, just a silent unsubscribe. To him, love isn't worth having if it asks him to betray himself. That's not romance. That's self-erasure. And no amount of chemistry is worth becoming someone he's not. Number 8, charm is a toolkit, not a costume. Charm to him is a Swiss Army knife he keeps in his back pocket, not a mascot costume he sweats in all day. He flicks it open only when a specific job calls for it, cracking a tense meeting with a one-liner, diffusing a brewing argument with a deadpan pun, coaxing a shy teammate into speaking up with a well-timed wink. The moment the situation stabilizes, the blade snaps shut and disappears. Anyone hoping he'll stay in court jester mode for their endless entertainment is in for a dry spell. He knows that permanent niceness turns into background noise, a Muzak track no one values. Scarcity makes every note land. What really stuns people is how fast he can drop the act the minute it stops serving a purpose. 1 second he's spinning a clever joke, the next he's dead serious, outlining the reality others were too polite to mention. That pivot isn't moodiness, it's precision. He treats charm like caffeine, enough to sharpen the room, never so much that everyone's jittery and talking nonsense. The nice guy marathon of eternal smiles, humble brags, and safe opinions. He opts out. Wearing a permanent grin would mean signing away his right to honesty, and he guards that right like intellectual property. Because he refuses to staple friendly to his forehead, every warm gesture carries weight. A compliment doesn't feel like generic brand syrup. It feels crafted because he chose that moment over 100 where he stayed silent. The authenticity is magnetic. Even skeptics lean in, wondering if he's laughing, does that mean this really is funny? That credibility can't be faked. People sense it the way they sense real wood versus laminate. Of course, this selective deployment frustrates chronic approval addicts. They'll fish for his charm, dropping hints and jokes, and get nothing but a polite nod. They think he's aloof. He's just conserving battery life for tasks that matter. When someone finally earns a flash of his wit, It lands like a private concert in a quiet cafe, brief, unforgettable, impossible to cheapen by replaying. In short, his charm is an on-demand tool calibrated for impact, sheathed when idle. He'll happily brighten the room, but he'll never live there on command. Niceness is free decor. His toolkit costs attention, and that's exactly why people remember every time he uses it. Number 9. He treats small talk like empty calories. Small talk doesn't just bore him, it drains him. To the Sigma male, it's the conversational equivalent of eating sugar packets and calling it dinner. Weather updates, weekend recaps, how's work loops. None of it feeds him. It's not arrogance, it's efficiency. His brain wants substance, something with texture, something that doesn't dissolve on the tongue the second it's said. If the words don't lead somewhere, intellectually, emotionally, or philosophically, he'd rather stay quiet and let the silence do the heavy lifting. And he's completely comfortable in that silence too. Where others squirm, fill gaps, or nervously chuckle, he's calm because stillness doesn't scare him. Shallow does. He's not rude about it, at least not intentionally. He might nod politely, give a clipped response, maybe even a faint smile, but you'll feel the absence of his engagement like a light that just flicked off. His eyes won't linger, his energy won't anchor. Try to bait him with gossip and you'll find yourself talking to a human firewall. Drop some clickbait drama and he'll quietly close the tab. Not because he's above it all, but because he knows where that road leads, nowhere worth going. There's no ROI in conversations that go in circles, solve nothing, and reveal less. He's tuned into patterns, not fluff. You'll catch his interest when you bring insight, conviction, or even a well-thought-out question. He'll go all in on a conversation about personal growth, systems thinking, emotional wiring, or a controversial idea that dares to challenge comfort zones. But if your conversational lead-in is, "I hate Mondays," you've already lost him. He's not trying to be difficult, he's just allergic to verbal cotton candy. And here's the paradox. His avoidance of small talk makes his real conversations magnetic. When he finally opens up, when he engages deeply, people feel it. The contrast is so sharp it creates gravity. He might not say much in a group, but when he does, the room recalibrates. You won't get hourly updates from him, but when you do hear from him, it's either meaningful or it's not sent at all. So while the rest of the world exchanges empty pleasantries like social currency, he's quietly investing in silence, curiosity, and honesty. Small talk is a tax he refuses to pay, and honestly, it's part of why he always feels like the realest one in the room. Number 10, empathy with a circuit breaker. His empathy has limits, and they're not up for negotiation. He can tune in, feel what you're feeling, and even hold space for you when things are falling apart. But that emotional panel he uses to connect, it's wired with a circuit breaker, and the moment your drama starts pulling more voltage than it's worth, click, lights out, he goes dark. It's not coldness, it's protection. Not just for himself, but for the integrity of the connection. Because he knows what too many people don't. Endless emotional dumping is not a relationship, it's a power drain. The Sigma male isn't some stone-faced robot. He feels deeply, often more than he lets on. But he's not built to absorb chaos on repeat. He can hold your pain, but he won't let it become his home. That distinction is everything. When your emotions become a never-ending monologue with no effort to grow, shift, or self-regulate, he checks out. Not because he doesn't care, but because you clearly don't. If you won't manage your own emotional mess, he sure as hell won't make it his job. And the switch flip isn't always dramatic. He won't yell, won't beg for space, won't guilt trip. He'll just stop responding. The vibe shifts. The emotional current you were feeding on disappears, and you're left in the quiet wondering what happened. That's the blackout. You overloaded the system, ignored the signs, and assumed his empathy was infinite. But he's not a sponge. He's a human firewall. Burn him once with toxic emotions, and you'll find the ports closed and locked, probably for good. This is what makes him so different from the classic nice guy. The nice guy listens, absorbs, nods, smiles, until he's internally collapsing from emotional debt. The Sigma male listens, mirrors, supports, but only if the circuit is clean and the power flow is mutual. The second it turns manipulative, victimy, or self-indulgent, he pulls the plug. His empathy isn't for sale, and it sure as hell isn't infinite. And funny enough, people respect him for this, even if they don't like it at first, because they know if he's still emotionally available, they haven't crossed the line. And in a world full of energy vampires and oversharers, his emotional boundaries don't just protect him, They signal to others. This is what self-respect looks like. Number 11. Silence is his search engine. When the room heats up with noise, arguments, opinions, fake confidence, he doesn't jump in to outshout anyone. He disappears. Not physically, but mentally. He disconnects from the noise like switching off Wi-Fi and turns inward where the real answers live. While others are busy throwing half-baked takes around like darts in the dark, he's already gone offline, scanning his internal database for logic, insight, and clarity. That's the Sigma male's edge. Silence isn't him zoning out, it's him downloading precision in a world full of noise. People mistake his silence for passivity or disengagement, but they're just not tuned to his frequency. While they scramble to be heard, he's running a quiet search query that goes 10 layers deeper than surface-level arguments. He's not rushing to speak because he's not trying to win the room, he's trying to understand it. When he finally does talk, it's like someone dropped a scalpel into a knife fight. Clean, sharp, and impossible to ignore. The room pauses, because what he says didn't come from panic or pride. It came from clarity, and that's the thing. He doesn't need to be first, loudest, or most dramatic. His power comes from precision, not volume. Silence is where he processes the contradiction, weighs the stakes, and runs worst-case scenarios while others are still reacting emotionally. It's not avoidance, it's discipline. He refuses to enter chaos with more chaos. He won't answer fire with fire. He'll wait for the smoke to clear, then deliver a solution so clear-headed it sounds foreign. This habit makes people uneasy. In a world obsessed with instant opinions and constant updates, silence reads like rebellion. But for him, it's strategy. The silence lets him observe, lets others expose themselves, and gives him the full picture before he acts. No need for guesswork, no need for regret. Just data processed at depth, far below the shouting matches and performative noise. And when he speaks, it's never filler. It's the kind of response that stops people mid-sentence. Not because it's flashy, but because it's correct. It came from silence, and silence, when used right, is the sharpest intelligence of all. Number 12, he prefers merit-based loyalty. Loyalty to the Sigma male isn't about who's been around the longest, it's about who's shown up when it mattered. You don't get a badge for just sticking around. You earn it by being solid, by showing consistency when it's inconvenient, by delivering value when it counts, not just presence when it's easy. Time doesn't impress him, substance does. You could know him for 10 years and still be kept at arm's length. Or you could meet him 6 months ago, show real integrity, and be pulled into the inner circle without fanfare. That's the brutal truth. He runs on meritocracy, not sentimentality. He watches how you move, not how long you've been standing there. Do you back your words with action? Do you stay grounded when things get messy? Do you have his back when no one's watching? That's the currency he values. Because he's not interested in people who just like him. He's interested in those who are loyal to principles, not just personalities. He doesn't need yes men, fanboys, or emotional dependents. He needs allies who hold their weight and can be trusted when the heat's on. This makes him unsettling to people who rely on nostalgia or history as their social capital. They think because they go way back, they're automatically entitled to his loyalty. They're not. In his world, loyalty has tiers, and it renews based on performance, not attendance. This isn't cruelty, it's how he keeps his ecosystem clean. Sentimental loyalty leads to emotional freeloaders, and he's allergic to those. He doesn't forget the past, but he won't let it override the present. People in his circle know the score. They respect the fact that he doesn't hand out loyalty like candy. And because it's hard to earn, they protect it once they've got it. No one wants to be demoted. That's what makes his loyalty valuable, not just to him, but to everyone who receives it. It's real, it's earned, and it's rare. Think of it like a VIP membership. You don't get in just because you've been standing in line for hours. You get in because you've proven your worth. And once you're in, you're not just part of his tribe. You're trusted, respected, and prioritized. That's a loyalty program worth being part of. At the end of the day, the Sigma male isn't your textbook nice guy. He's the upgrade that never advertised itself. He doesn't serve politeness on autopilot, doesn't drown in shallow approval, and certainly doesn't trade self-respect for temporary validation. Every part of him operates with intention. His boundaries aren't reactive, they're built in. His silence isn't empty, it's loaded with thought. His kindness isn't cheap, it's earned. He'll help you, but not carry you. He'll praise you, but only if it's real. And if you're looking for someone to rescue you from yourself, keep looking. What makes him so compelling isn't what he does. It's what he refuses to do. He refuses to be manipulated by neediness, bullied by expectations, or seduced by the illusion of popularity. He plays a different game entirely, one where loyalty must be earned, empathy has limits, and charm is used with surgical precision. He's not cold. He's calculated. He's not distant. He's selective. He's not rude. He just doesn't speak fluent nonsense. In a world obsessed with being liked, the Sigma male chooses to be respected, and in doing so becomes unforgettable. You may not always agree with him, you may not always understand him, but you will never forget the way he showed up. Sharp, grounded, and unapologetically real. And that's exactly why he stands out. Not as a nice guy, but as something much rarer. Someone who means what he says and lives what he believes. If this resonated with you or challenged you in the best way, don't just scroll past. Hit that subscribe button and join a tribe that values depth over noise, truth over flattery, and respect over popularity. Like the video if you're done with surface-level advice, drop a comment and let us know which point hit the hardest. And share this with someone who's tired of being mistaken for a nice guy when they're clearly operating on a whole different level. We're building something real here, and we'd love to have you along for the ride.